That's what happens when you're unfortunate to have a parent who's a political science professor, I guess. So there's that element of civic education. So global citizenship education, I mean, you're right that it's a compound emphasis on education. So it's taking bits of civic education, bits of global education, and putting it in all one neat little, hopefully attractive package. Now, global education, if we take the notion of global, and again, say go back to David Held and Tony McGrew and their work on globalization, they emphasize not just the interconnectedness of the world or the extensiveness of the world's connections now spread, but also velocity, speed, that the world is getting connected at faster and faster rates of speed. And therefore, again, we're all morally implicated in what kind of a world we're shaping. So I think global education by itself is to understand those dynamics, and then global citizenship education is about what we do, agency, voice, empowerment, empathy, what kinds of qualities people need to thrive and help their communities thrive, and also help the world be left to the next generation in a better state than it is now. And that's not entirely different from civic education. If you're doing civic education in a community or a country, you also hope that your bounded political community will be left in better shape to the next generation. And that the habits and ethics and even morals of the citizenry, I don't mean to sound too preachy, but that they too will continue to improve, and more rights, I tend to look at citizenship, of course, being, I guess, a Westerner from a liberal democratic context. I think there's some universality to that notion of democracy as well. So, a world in which rights, more people are finally having their rights fully respected than in the past. So that, too, in a global dimension has affinities. You could say human rights education. So there's a lot that can be bundled into global citizenship education.
All right, that's very interesting. So this ties in a way to a second question, or third question, about how you actually implement the concept of global citizenship or global citizenship education in your current classes. Here at Yonsei University, you are teaching a lot of students, I guess, and I'm interested in knowing how you actually implement the concept.
So a couple of different ways. I mean, and you well know that even educators debate whether it's better to take the idea of global citizenship and infuse it across the curriculum. So you might never actually talk about global citizenship, but there are elements of global awareness or understanding or responsibility that work their way into classes, or just recognition of an interdependent world. And then there are schools and colleges that actually, put the concept right out there in their mission statements, and will have classes or certificate programs that are often supplemental to the usual classroom experiences. I mean, I'm sometimes a little bit skeptical of global citizen certificates. If you take a language for 2 semesters and travel to, I don't know, Switzerland or Afghanistan for a week, then voila, you're a global citizen, and then you can just go home back to your cocoon after that. I don't really know if that works, but I think some elements of it can work. It depends on how the program's put together. Here at Yonsei, we don't have anything like that. We do have, actually, in our international college, global citizenship is worked into the mission. But my teaching has always been just autonomous, really, from how the university defines itself. Although Yonsei, of course, founded by missionaries from around the world with global connections. So my classroom, which is what I think you're asking, I teach 2 classes at the undergraduate level. One is on the idea of global citizenship. One is on cosmopolitanism. They're interconnected. They target different groups of students. The global citizenship one is for students in our English language only degree program. The cosmopolitanism class is for students across the entire university.